5785, corresponding to the 17th of December 2024. Today's class graciously sponsored by Ezra Carmel and family, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved father, Pinhas ben Rachel alav shalom. Additionally, today's class dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat, my dear father-in-law Menachem ben Belina, in which tonight at 5 we are going to have the Ereyat here at our synagogue, starting with Tehillim, followed by prayer, Seudah, and Divrei Torah. And Be'ezat Hashem, tomorrow morning the family gets up from the Shiva, so I'll take the opportunity, especially to the virtual audience of Torah, for the many warm and kind messages that I received and shared with the families. And Be'ezat Hashem, we should only have semachot for all of Am Israel. Amen. So today's Gemara from Masechet Yevamot talks about the importance of fences and how the Torah gave the power to the Chachamim to establish a fence of spiritual protection for Am Israel. We know there is a very famous pasuk in Perashat Shofetim that says, Al pi Torah asher yorucha, ועל כל הדבר אשר יגידו לך, לא תסור ימין ושמאל. Literally in English means, for any matter that our sages ruled, or any time that they tell us something, do not turn to the left or to the right. There is a concept known as the importance of listening to the words of the Hachamim. And I believe that I can say confidently enough that Baruch Hashem, this is not a topic for the Jewish people, and especially for our community. How many times people say, just in conversation, I asked Rabbi X, I asked Rabbi Z, I spoke to this rabbi, or I said, I make a rabbinical question and I was told how to proceed, etc. Where does that come from? It's actually from the Torah. There is a pasuk that we recite every day of our life. The famous pasuk of the Shira that says, Vaya'aminu ba'Hashem u'Moshe abdo. We believed in God and we believe in Moshe, his servant. And somebody may ask, how can you compare Emunah to God, to Emunah to a human, to a Hakam? The short answer is that many, many times the hope is by having Emunah in the Hachamim and having Emunah in the Torah. Emunah, you don't buy it in Whole Foods or in Winn-Dixie, alav shalom. Living. Yeah, unbelievable. I know. But hopefully we'll find a solution. Remember the Holy Sage's statement, before God closes a door, there is another one opens, or maybe 100 opens. I don't know. I cannot give you the answer. But the answer is somewhere between 1 and 100. But in a more serious note, we have rabbi in our community, and when I mean our community means in the Sephardic world, we have the one and only Rabbi David Asher, for example, right? And I did not ask him permission to promote his holy work, but I think that we all see that in our generation, Emunah took a whole new dimension. Emunah always existed. Emunah was not invented in the 21st century. Emunah has been part of our DNA. The pasuk writes in Avraham Avinu, Vaya'amen ba'Hashem. He believed in God. The Jewish people believed in God. History believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The great rabbi is blessed with the faculty of being able to deliver Ben Porat Yosef in a beautiful and magnificent way, how Emunah can become the ultimate lifesaver for the people. Then you have Bitachon. That's Rabbi David Sutton from Brooklyn. Also, what's Bitachon? Without Emunah, you cannot have Bitachon. Imagine yourself, you want to have insurance coverage, but you don't have an insurance policy. Does it make sense? So you need to have an insurance policy before you can file a claim. You cannot file a claim if you don't have an active insurance. So Emunah is the insurance policy. The bitachon is activating the insurance policy. Obviously, many times people pray the ultimate blessing is to have insurance and not to use it. You agree to that? Because sometimes you pay, you pay, you pay, you pay, you pay. What happens? You file a claim, denied. I don't want to speak the United Health Care in situation in New York City. All right? Has Shalom, God forbid. Huge tragedy for humanity. But look at what level madness reached the world. To what level? So let's go back to the Pasuk on the Pasuk writes, let's go Mehila. I went to the Pasuk of the Torah. Let's go now to Pirkei Avot. The famous Pirkei Avot in the beginning of chapter 1 is a known Mishnah that it says what? Asu Seyag La Torah. The Mishnah gives the Hakim throughout history. Don't think for a moment that is limited to that generation. The Torah is eternal. Our rabbis tell us, HaTorah hi nishit. The Torah doesn't change with fashion. Sure, my suit may be different today than 30 years ago. It's true. Now it's coming back. Double-breasted, wider lapel. Sure. I used to have them. I know that. I should have saved them 30 years ago. Ties, thin, wide, narrow, shoes. Things go in and out, in and out. But our Torah doesn't have an expiration date. And that's why our rabbis tell us the Torah is eternal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is eternal. The Torah is eternal. The Jewish people are eternal. And that's what the Zohar HaKadosh says. Torah, Kuchaverichu, and Am Israel, they are one. Kul Ahad is Wahid. One. You cannot separate. A Jew without Torah cannot survive. The Torah without the Jewish people cannot have a purpose, so to speak. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, without the Torah, without the world, is going to be a heavenly matter, and that's it. And the Tanya, famous Tanya, what does it say? Nit'ava liotlo dirato idbarach batachtonim. God had this desire, so to speak, of dwelling among us. Dwelling among us. And you may ask yourself, why God will have such a desire of dwelling among us? Why don't you stay up there? I'll tell you the secret. It's not a secret. Because upstairs, there is no action. It's very calm. There is no action. Upstairs, Moshe Rabbeinu, one of the most famous speeches prior to the part to the next level of life, he says, Lo bashamayim hi. The Torah is not in the heavens. Even when Moshe Rabbeinu, famous concept, when it came to the celebration of Shavuot, and Moshe Rabbeinu gives the Torah to Am Israel, do you know that Moshe Rabbeinu did not have an easy time to receive the Torah for the Jewish people? The Malachim ganged up against Moshe. And they said like a very strong statement, and not a nice one. You know what they said? Ma ben ilud isha benenu. How come, or what is a human being born from a female body among us? Malachim are in Shamayim, in a very lofty spiritual level. And then suddenly who come? Terrestrial. Remember E.T.? That's extraterrestrial. Hamavdil, right? Go home, right? Hamavdil. Moshe Rabbeinu is a terrestrial. And that's basically they are asking, what is a terrestrial doing among us? Terrestrial means from the planet Earth, Terra, or Tierra in Spanish. So I ask you a question. Do you think that the Malachim didn't know that the Torah belongs to humans? What God says to Moshe, Moshe, hold my throne and answer back. God is telling Moshe, Moshe, I'm not getting involved. You need to set up. You need to solve the matter. You need to settle this question. And Moshe Rabbeinu starts. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Short answer. He went through the 10 commandments. I'm your God that took you out of Egypt. So Moshe Rabbeinu asks the angels, were you ever in Egypt as a slave that you need to be reminded? Don't have any other gods in front of you. What, in the heaven there is competition? Don't utter God's names in vain. You only talk when you have to praise God. Honor your parents. Are you human that you have to honor your parents? Don't work on Shabbat. You work during the week. We work during the week. Everybody works as humans. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't give false witnesses, do not covet. All these, at the end, the Malachim relinquished the Torah and they gave it to Moshe Rabbeinu. And one of the Mefarshim asked, what kind of game is this? You thought that the Malachim didn't know that the Torah cannot become activated on the heavens, but actually needs to become a physical entity? What does it mean? The Baal Shem Tov says it very clearly. God puts us in the world to take materialistic items and lift them to become spiritual items. For example, a tea. You have coffee or tea today? Tea, Hazako Baruch. What did you do before you drank your tea? The beracha. What, you had your sandwich. What did you do before you ate the kak? Beracha. So guess what? Two humans can eat the same kak. Two humans can drink the same type of tea. But there is one difference, that we said a beracha before. So that, by default, by saying that beracha, suddenly we took that physical item and we gave him a spiritual upgrade. You bought a suit in honor of Shabbat. You bought a suit. You tested for shatnez. You bought an apartment close to the synagogue. You have money you gave to charity. Guess what? Gentiles also buy apartments, right? Are all your clients Jewish? You have all of the above, right? What, Gentiles don't wear suits? Gentiles don't make money? True. But we as Yehudim, we have an extra line of homework. That's called making the physical into the spiritual. And by the way, that is our goal in life. We came down to the world to fulfill this mission. But, there's always a but, right? Sometimes our surroundings, our environment, and the way just life goes may bring us to cross boundaries. That's why our Torah says, as I said before, Hachamim have the power to build fences of protection. Let me ask you a real estate question. You're in real estate, you're in real estate, you're in real estate, you're in real estate, Hazako Baruch. Refuah Shlema for the real estate. Right? You see how I know? I'm here and I know what's happening out there. Okay? Anyways, so what's going on? Wait, I don't want to start till the building's sinking. You heard of that, right? Scary. Scary. And many of them. Don't ask. Many. Just be careful. That's all I can say. So somebody called me up last night. Rabbi, do I need to sell my apartment? I said, relax. Don't sell anything. Just do your homework. There is something going on out there. I hope it is an easy fix, because they're building magnificent buildings all around, and especially on the water, and they're telling you, keep an eye on things. Anyways, I'm not an expert, but don't take my word for it. But do your homework. Now, let's go back. Now, our Hachamim establish fences. So going back to the real estate question, let's say you build a warehouse, you build a office building, you build an apartment building. Will you get an occupancy certificate of occupancy if you're missing Haim Tovim, if you're missing windows? You will not get it. Why not? Sakana. You think that a building across the street or any of the condominiums, look at next door, Temporary Towers, right? They're working very fast. Thank God. Baruch Hashem, right? So what is the first thing they did? Block all the windows and then remove the balconies. And they tell you, you cannot open these windows. Why not? Because you're missing the fence, the railing. You're missing what? Ma'akeh. Ma'akeh is a mitzvah from the Torah. Ve'asita ma'akeh legagecha. The Torah is telling us when situations of danger may come across your way, protect yourself. Now, the literal meaning of the verse is Ve'asita ma'akeh legagecha. Build a railing to your rooftop. The Torah uses the rooftop simply because it's the most common matter that is self-understood. Balconies also need a fence. A swimming pool, especially if there are children, you also require to have cars. Cars, now remember there used to be a time that you can drive without a seatbelt and nothing happened. Now you try to drive your car without the seatbelt, what happens? The alarm, beep, beep, beep. Guess the new one. You know what's the new one coming soon? Rear seat belts. If you don't wear it, by 2027, they're going to have an alarm. You sit in the back seat, of course. It's like backup cameras. Many years back was a luxury. The insurance industry made it a law. Why? Because by having backup cameras, they lower the insurance claims of fender benders, so to speak. There is always chokhmot, and there is reasons. Now, let me ask you a question. Why the Torah utilize this concept of Be'asita ma'akeh legagecha, to your rooftop? Why specifically rooftop? Why don't you say to any place of danger? What if I have no access to the rooftop? So I recall reading in one book that spoke about the holiday of Sukkot. And there explains, which is going to lead me to the next statement, but let me do one step at a time. The Torah uses Gag. Gag. Gag in English has nothing to do with the Gag in Hebrew. In English, you have a gag order. That basically means don't talk about a certain case, a certain situation. That's gag order. But in Torah, gag means the highest point of a building. The human being is also a building. Our body is a building. It's built by bones, body parts, blood vessels, veins, etc. So I'm going to paraphrase the question. What is the highest part of your body? The brain, the head. The head and the brain is on top. So you know what the Torah is telling you? Be'asita ma'akeh legagecha. Protect your head, your thoughts, your brain, your negative thoughts. That's why Yaakov Avinu, we learned in last week's Torah portion, right? Yaakov Avinu went to sleep. What did he do? The Pasuk says, he took the stones and put them surrounding the head of Yaakov. This is Yaakov. You like it? Nice. Yaakov is laying down on the ground, and what does he do? He puts the rocks around his head, right? And Rashi says he made like a semi-circle to prevent the wild animals to attack him. If it's me, I'll do this. And I built it high enough so hopefully they will not jump into it. But the Torah says no. Yaakov only protected his head. Why his head? Because if the head is protected, the entire body is protected. And the protection that I'm talking about is not a physical protection, it's a spiritual protection. That's why so many things are written, how a Jew speaks, what we look at, what we don't look at, how do we say it, what word do we say, what do we listen to. And that's perhaps what the Torah is telling us. Don't think for a minute that the fences is only for your swimming pool, your balcony, on the rooftop. You need to have also fences to protect yourself. Which brings me to the next statement. There is a prophetic concept called as Gog Magog. What is Gog Magog? People talk about Gog Magog, a war of biblical proportions prior or around the time of Mashiach's arrival. As children, when we were in the school, in the yeshiva, we always were playing with this concept of who is Gog Magog? Which nation is Gog Magog? Because based the way you take the pasuk by the face value, it seems to be two countries waging a war. So I remember in the 70s, we used to say United States and Russia, right? Then it moved into India and Pakistan. Then it went to Iran, Iraq. Then it went to Ukraine and Russia. Then it went to North Korea, South Korea. Now we can say it's Israel and the Arab world. Beautiful. But you know what's my new conclusion of the war of Gog Magog? That the war of Gog Magog is not a war of the act of war, but is a war of the mind, of the spirit. What goes on in the world, what's permissible in the world, and actually if you see the picture of the world today, looking at it from a Torah perspective, from a Jewish perspective, the world is in a confused state of mind. And that's a mild statement. You may say, Rabbi, the world was always like that. I agree to disagree. Sure, the world always had some nonsense and some madness, but now even the madness is official, is approved. And if you do the right thing, they ask you what's wrong with you. And if you do the wrong thing, no, he's expressing himself. She's expressing herself. Let him be. All the new words, inclusive. Yeah, inclusive exists in Judaism. In the Minyan, we are all inclusive. Everybody's welcome. Yehudi, part of the Minyan. That's why Tzibur is Sadiq, Benoni, Reshaim. That's the meaning of Minyan. Minyan is that we don't look at the individual, we look at the team effort. Sure, in that aspect, we are all inclusive. Beautiful. But today, the word inclusive, it means 7 colors of the rainbow. And maybe with inflation, maybe it could be 10 colors, who knows? But that's what the war of Gog Magog is. Today, you look up to a person based on the amount of followers they have in social media. That's how people determine success. They don't know that it's hacky, 2/3 of it is not true. But that's what they sell. And guess what? People are buying it. Big time. There are people who don't go to work, people who left school. Back then, going to school was a sign of honor, a sign of prestige. My son went here, my daughter went there, Harvard, MIT, and whatever college is out there. Now suddenly they tell you, forget about it. Stay local, close to the home, less complicated, because regretfully, the college platform has been utilized as a brainwashing concept. I told you this the other day, that we have a nephew and a niece, that they are the rabbis of one of the most liberal, leftist, anti-Israel college. It's called UC Davis, right? In California. It's like 6 hours from Los Angeles. That is, he tells me, he says, we were trained from day one. When they do the Shabbat dinners and the holiday dinners and invite the students to their home, don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. How they feel. Don't talk politics. Don't talk. Certain topics are off the table. Why? Because we don't know what kind of answer we're going to be getting. And they told me stories, that you say, I don't believe there are people who function and feel like this in the 21st century. For many, going to college was, I went to school, I got a degree, I got a job, I provided for my family, and khalas. Today, you have to pray that your child comes back normal, comes back safe, without being harassed by the anti-Israel movements that are under the banner of freedom of speech. It sounds like a tarat nedarim. Mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem, mutarim lachem. Everything is permissible. Mutarim lachem means that I'm releasing you from all the supposedly verbal commitments that you verbalize and didn't comply. I'm protecting you so the lack of fulfillment should not haunt you. Regretfully, yes. Regretfully, yes. They want to take certain shortcuts in the world of morality and human decency, but obviously, the Gemara of today says 3 words. Asu mishmeret lemishmarti. God says to the Hachamim through the Torah, do what you need to do. For example, how many halachot are written in the Shulchan Aruch, and even discussing the Gemara, many cases, how Hachamim, they saw in the great Chokhmah, in the great godly wisdom, to protect assimilation. For example, not eating food cooked by a Gentile, not eating bread baked by a Gentile in their home, etc. What do you think they did that? Short answers in the Shulchan Aruch, hatunot. Because once you break bread and food, it's like a connector, correct? How many times people do a business deal in a restaurant? You try to eat, you try to work a deal in your office, you go to their office, they come to you, you get stuck. They go, well, let's go take a bite. You took something, you ate something, you drank something, you shake the hand. Why? Short answer, the Gemara says, food brings people closer. Food unites people. It's like somebody told me the other day, Rabbi, I don't understand. The Jewish people have food every time? I said, yeah. So somebody's born, Sevet. Somebody passed away, Seudah. Somebody bar mitzvah, Seudah. Pidyon, Seudah. Burial, Seudah. Says, you guys always eat? I said, yes. You know what? Because when a Jew eats, it's not I'm eating. I'm eating by saying Berachatu Akadosh Baruch Hu. I'm eating in order to elevate someone's neshama. So yes, I'm eating and then enjoy the shakshuka or the breakfast. I don't know what menu is going to be tomorrow, but I was told that it's going to be special. I'm sponsoring, so don't eat dinner tonight. I'm not sure it's going to be that large, but God willing, will be a nice one. Okay? No, and not takeout. Just as a reminder. But no, it says, even though that we are eating, but we always add the godly element, even on something so mundane. Let's bring another topic, even more mundane than eating. Going to the bathroom. I'm sorry to bring such an example. We have protocols. You go to the bathroom, you do what you need to do, you wash your hands, and then what do you say? Asher Yatzar. And you're lucky that we're not saying the prayer before going to the bathroom. There was a time in history that, sure, it's not a blessing, it's a statement. You're telling your organs, get ready. I'm going to relieve myself to be able to have a clean body to praise the Almighty. Halakha says, you have the urge of going to the restroom, go to the restroom first, and then go pray. Even if you're going to be late for the minyan. It's a pasuk. Bechol kerobai et shem kodsho. All my inner organs, all my intestines will praise the Almighty. David HaMelech says, Toratecha betoch me'ai. Your Torah is inside of my kishkes. For those who understand. Can you imagine the Torah is in your intestines? How could it be the Torah is in your intestines? There are many answers. One of them is the intestines is part of the digestive system of the person. So if the food is kasher, that's already a good sign. You eat matzah, Toratecha betoch me'ai, the word matzah. Amen. Okay? Now, what else he says? He writes, and it says that also when the person uses the restroom, especially when a person is about to pray specifically on that or in the early morning, it says suddenly the organism is getting ready to serve Hashem. Even though that you say, Rabbi, is the intestines. They are hidden. True. But what do you think Asher Yatzar does? Asher Yatzar says, שאם יסתם אחד מהם, או אם יפתח אחד מהם, אי אפשר להתקיים אפילו שעה אחת. Even if something that's supposed to be closed and sealed is clogged or ruptured, God forbid, the person will not be able to survive even 1 hour. So we need to have the good calibration and coordination and functioning of the human body, because that's how we are able to serve Hashem, even on something so basic and physical like going to the bathroom. Another one that we don't even talk about it is taking a shower. Bathing. Of course, we bathe to be clean, etc. But you know that if your body doesn't smell clean, you cannot pray. Don't ask. Maybe they didn't sweat as much as we do. And they did a different lifestyle. Remember back then in the day, prayer took 3 hours. Prayer took 3 hours. And there was no deodorant back then. Not even soap. I don't think so. Whatever they used back then in the day. I can't answer what they did back then. But one thing is for sure, that the same halakha of today apply 1,000 years ago. Even the Gemara says, Tefillin serichim guf naki. The tefillin needs to have a clean body. What does it mean, clean body? Izaher shelo yapiach bahem. Be careful that your body does not release, I'm sorry to say it, gas when your tefillin is on your body. So look at the level of holiness that tefillin required. And by the way, we lucky. I mean, I'm not sure if we should say that word, but I think that it's a different ball game today. Back then, people wore talit and tefillin most of the day. Most of the day, even when they went to work. But as the generations went by and the Jewish people moved all around and the mindset of people changed and they weren't able to preserve such a high level of holiness and godliness, so we are happy that a person puts on tefillin for the prayers. Just don't remove it before Alinu L'Shabeach. You know, some people have this tradition of removing it. Ashrei, yeah, okay, maybe they remove it to put on the Benutam. Or let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they all need to go to the bathroom. Maybe that could be a possibility, right? So we gotta think. We gotta give people the benefit of the doubt. But why? Why the Lacha makes so much emphasis? Very simple, because all the Gemara writes, "Kol haderachim mobilim liYerushalayim." All the roadways lead to Jerusalem, meaning to say, which direction you want to come to Jerusalem to, there is always a highway, there is always a route that you're able to follow. Guess what? In Avodat Hashem, pasuk from Shlomo HaMelech, I believe, that says, Bechol derachecha da'ihu. Says, in every step of your way, you want to see godliness when you take a shower, you know that there is a way of how to shower halachically, how to dress halachically, how to undress halachically. All is written. That people don't do it or people do it, that's a different ball game. So I tell you how to take a shower from the halacha. You start with your head, right? Start from the top. And then you continue first the right side, then the left side. Then you go the lower part of the body, front and back. Then the legs. That's how you shower. Again, doesn't mean if you started from the left or you started from your feet, you're doing a sin. I'm only telling you that there is even a protocol how to get dressed. You start from the top. Kippah on the shirt, tzitzit, shirt. On the garments, pants, socks, shoes. First the right shoe, then the left shoe. You undress the left first and then the right. Why? Because the right represents kindness, the left represents judgment. So I want more kindness to remain longer than judgment. I want to get rid of judgment. Let me clarify for the audience. Somebody perhaps say, Rabbi, I never heard such a thing. What's the new Humrah of the day? What are you inventing things? It's not inventing everything. It's written black and white. Check with your LOR. That means your local Orthodox rabbi. And he'll tell you that there is such a thing. That people don't do it. Okay. But what I'm trying to illustrate with this is when Shlomo HaMelech says in every ways of, like building a house. Okay, what do you do when you build a house? You put on mezuzot, right? You create a kitchen that you're able to separate, Baruch Hashem, between meat and dairy. Besides looking at the synagogue is walking distance to your home. If you have a swimming pool, and you have, especially if you have young children, you build a ma'akeh, you put a fence. Also, you may have to put a fence for modesty purposes. You know, sometimes, modesty could be an issue. But you know what else you need to do when you build a house or you build an apartment? You're supposed to leave an unfinished area in your home as a reminder of the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. Unfinished, 18 by 18. And it should be when you're coming to your home. So you remember the destruction of the temple, and this is only a temporary dwelling outside of Israel. Let me clarify. It doesn't mean that if you didn't do it, you cannot live in your house. So what I'm trying to create an awareness is that even on something so personal and so private, like living in your home, there is a godly element that makes us who we are. we are proud members of Am Israel. But it's not only because you sing a tikva on Yom HaAtzmaut or you like to eat falafel on the Israeli day. It means that we represent what truly essence of Am Israel is, as our rabbis tell us. Especially, there was a great sage from Egypt, Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon, over 1,000 years. And what does he say? The Jewish people are called Am HaSefer. We are the people of the book. What Sefer is he referring to? The Torah. It says, because without the Torah, how do we survive? Hanukkah is coming up soon. Okay, what was the entire miracle of Hanukkah? By strategically speaking, Hanukkah should have never happened. Because we were outnumbered by the thousands upon thousands of mercenaries and enemies and soldiers of the Greek Empire. And yet a handful of Kolel Yeshiva students defeated the Greeks. Don't get fooled that the Jewish people had an army. Even today that we have an army, it's a puppet of God. That's what we need to understand, because God forbid, the moment that we feel Kohi ve'osem yadi, asal yetahai leze, me, myself, and I, enable me to achieve my goals, my success, God says, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Let's see how you perform without the heavenly guidance. And we don't minimize, God forbid, for one moment, the heroic effort that our soldiers in Israel are doing, and all the good soldiers all over are doing for humanity and mankind. But remember, especially when it comes to the Jewish people, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Shomer Israel. Chapter 121 of Tehillim says, Hashem Shomer Israel. Shlomo HaMelech says in the book of Tehillim, Im Hashem lo yibnei bayit, shav amlu bonav bo. Im Hashem lo yishmor ir, shav shakat shomer. Literally, the pasuk means, if God does not hold and support the hand of the builder, nothing can be built. That's what the verse says. And if God doesn't keep a watchful eye on the city, Im Hashem lo yishmor ir, shav shakat shomer. You can have guards, you can have security officers, and guess what? God may decide what happened, what not to happen. I don't have to go tell you how many times in Israel tragedies do happen, God forbid. And we hope and pray that all these tragedies, they came already to an end, and we're only going to have good things. But let's be honest, read history, and you'll see how many times, above and beyond our understanding, things do happen. We don't understand. I'm sure that we have a lot of questions. Why situations like that happen? Why innocent people, men, women, and children, catastrophically and tragically, this is how they leave the world. I'm sure that we all have a lot of questions, but I'd like to finish today's class with the following statement. There is a pasuk in the Torah, in Perashat Nitzavim, that says, הנסתרות להשם אלוקינו בהנגדות לנו ולבנינו עד עולם לעשות את כל דברי התורה הזאת. הנסתרות להשם אלוקינו. The hidden matters belong to the Almighty. בהנגלות לנו ולבנינו עד עולם. And whatever is revealed to us and our generations for eternity. Which is it? לעשות את כל דברי התורה הזאת. To follow the footsteps of the Torah. As long as the Am Israel, as we have done generation after generations, lives and follows the standards and protocols of the Torah, Am Israel will remain alive the way the famous song says, Am Israel High. But they don't understand that the only life of a Jew is Torah. It's a pasuk. We say it every night. Ki em hayenu be'orech yamenu. The Gemara says a Jew without Torah is a fish without water. That's simple. Can a fish survive without water? So then somebody may ask, I know that I said I'm going to finish. Give me 2 more minutes and that's it. Very nether. You may say, but I don't understand, Rabbi. You're saying everything beautiful. I agree. But how come that so many Jewish people are not affiliated or not interested? God forbid. I don't believe that there is such a thing that a Jew is not interested. Simply could be lack of knowledge. We understand. And God understands that there are people who are never exposed to the essence of the Torah and never had the opportunity, or they grew up in an environment that the system was completely against the ideals. But one of the things that God has, and it's endless, I like to say, is patience and sablanut. Patience, tolerance, understanding. But guess what? I cannot expect that someone that is not affiliated to do what we need to do as affiliated. So guess what? By default, that responsibility is moved from the less connected, by default it gets shifted to each and every one of us that follows the Torah, follows the traditions, follows the mitzvot, try to do it on a regular basis, and Be'ezat Hashem, in the zechut of the handful, the many will be saved. This was the miracle of Hanukkah. By numbers, we were to be erased. We were to be gone from the world. Haman tried it and he failed. You know what the Greek says? The Greeks, they were asked, why are you going to repeat the same mistake that Haman did? You know what they answer to those who ask? Haman was a fool, because what did he go for? The body of the Jew. We're going for the neshama. We're going through the soul. That was the Greeks established the prohibitions. Haman didn't put too many prohibitions. He says, be ready, the 13th of Adar, the entire Jewish world is going to be wiped out. He failed. The Greek says, you know what, we're not going to make such a how do I say this, a aggressive type of reaction. We're going to let the Jewish people kill themselves. How? Assimilation. It may take 2 generations, 3 generations, guaranteed failure. That's why according to some opinions, the word Hashmona'i, even though it means the location and the values against the Greeks, according to some opinions, the word Hashmona'i is the acronym of the prohibitions that they established. Chodesh, Milah, Nida, what else? Torah, or Kasher, they forbade Shabbat observance, Rosh Chodesh observance, holiday observance. Ladies cannot go to the mikveh, don't learn Torah, don't eat kasher, don't circumcise your child. That's the word Hashmona'i. What else do you need? Oh, I gave tzedakah. Chazak Baruch, beautiful. But the Greeks understood that there are certain commandments that can determine the spiritual level of the person. And Baruch Hashem, they fail, and we are, thank God, alive and well. Shavua Tov, great day to everybody. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Shuf. Amen be'amen. Rabbi Hanania ben Akashia Omer. רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך. הרבה להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני